All right, what is going on, good people of this world? It's a live stream. Get excited. It's officially official. John Harbaugh will be the next head coach of the New York Football Giants. What is going on? Happy Saturday. Happy playoff Saturday of the divisional round. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Not a formal episode, just a quick little live stream to get excited about this because what was it? God, I don't even know what night was it, man. What night was it? And this is a really bad way to start off a live stream. Oh my God. What night was it that he was announced? It was 3 days ago. So it was 3 days ago that it was like announced. And then we're like, all right, cool. He's gonna, we'll get details about a contract, and then eventually we got details of 5 years for $100 million. Okay. Then we got details of he's going to be allowed to pay whatever staff he wants. He's going to have full carte blanche of doing whatever he wants there. And then we heard the very early in the morning after he signed midnight. Then we heard, Todd Monken is likely to join him. And everything was kind of shaping up. And then there was the delay of he didn't sign. And the thing that I think caused a lot of people to worry, the thing that caused a lot of people to worry is that there were reporters that were tweeting out there are minor details. There are just little itty bitty minor details that need to be worked out. And it was getting, it was all day yesterday that we were kind of waiting. And we're like, these are not just minor details, man. Like, you don't have minor details that take a day or two to figure this out, So I need to know, and I'm gonna have a reporter on. I'm one of the big ones that has really been reporting through this. I don't like to say names because whenever I say a name of somebody that I'm gonna have on the show, it usually doesn't work out. But in the middle of the week after his presser, I'm gonna have a reporter on, and honestly, like, I think it's going to be like half how the Giants kind of got him into the building, maybe even a little less, maybe even like a little less than that. Because at that point, that has been so documented. Now what we need to figure out, what was the delay and what are the repercussions that are now going to come out of this delay? Because if it was about structure, if it was about who's reporting to who, and I think that's even fascinating too, about if who is John Harbaugh reporting to? Because typically the chain of command, and I think even the Giants historically have always operated this way. Head coach reports to GM, and GM reports to owner. And when is the presser? I am projecting that the presser, and so, Gary Myers and everybody, they've been tweeting out that since MLK Day is Monday, the presser is going to be Tuesday. But the reporting structure, if John Harbaugh, because the way that it was set up in Baltimore is that he would report directly to the owner. He would not report directly to the general manager. I would even like to get a Ravens person on the show to talk about that structure and obviously 18 years of John Harbaugh and what he's done over there. But with this particular instance with the Giants and John Maris cancer diagnosis and not knowing the future of Giants ownership, if John Harbaugh is going to be reporting directly to ownership and reporting directly to the owner, I think that is something that's a huge piece of, like, we don't know what's fully going on there. Chris Mara was a huge part, apparently, in landing John Harbaugh. He was the first person around the NFL, one of those 9 teams that all called John Harbaugh being like, we want you as head coach. Chris Mara was the first person to have face-to-face contact besides the Baltimore Ravens. That eventually wound up letting him go, right? So what is his role in this? What's going on with the Mara family? What is the reporting structure? With John Mara's illness and sickness kind of looming on top of all of this. And I hate to get like morbid in that, but I think that's a reality of this situation because it doesn't seem like this is a typical reporting structure. So that's one element of it. And why I wasn't surprised with the delay Well, I wasn't surprised with the delay. If you listen to, I thought we did a good job. The live stream, we talked about an hour and a half, giving an initial hour and a half reaction at like midnight, Thursday morning, Wednesday morning. I can't even remember when it was. Like these days are blending in together. And I know a lot of you have been saying it in the chat too. Appreciate you hanging out. Why don't you like the stream while you're at it? I was not surprised that this conversation happened. I did not anticipate that it was gonna take a couple days, but I'm actually pretty proud of myself on being like, John Harbaugh is not just going to be a yes man. This was not going to be an easy thing. I thought that maybe it would have been already done. I thought it maybe would have already been done and it didn't have to take a couple days, but I knew that he wasn't just going to be a yes man. If Joe Schoen and John Mara and the Giants leadership, if they just simply bowed down to him, and they said, yeah, man, we'll let you do whatever you want. And I feel like that's what the Giants have kind of done whenever they've interviewed GMs, whether that be Joe Schoen, when they've interviewed head coaches over the years, whether that be Judge and Shermer, they kind of can just present stuff and be like, yeah, man, well, here's what you could do, and here are the resources that you have, and here's the power you're going to have, and they make everything sound great, and then it's not great because their infrastructure is bad, because it's been bad, it's been awful, right? Even towards the middle to later parts of years of Reese, they just kind of did things the same ways over and over and over again, and they expected different results, right? So I wasn't surprised that Harbaugh didn't just bow down to that. Again, the fact that it took this long, and also I guess I hoped in a way that would have been done during the quote-unquote interview process and not, okay, I'm going to take the job. Okay, now it's going to take me a couple days. But you know what? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about the timeline of it. I don't give two shits about, how long it took him to sign the contract. What I care about is getting this organization right. What I care about is fixing this organization. What I care about is John Harbaugh coming in here and Giants leadership actually giving him the opportunity to get shit in line that's been broken. And I'm talking vaguely because outside of just saying nepotism and people holding the same positions and people holding the same title, I don't know what that is. I mean, that could even be that John Harbaugh wants his own assistant general manager in here. Get somebody from the lower ranks of the Baltimore Ravens. Brandon Brown needs to be removed. And then you have an assistant GM. Is that reporting structure of John Mara reports to ownership and not necessarily just Joe Schoen? The collaboration with, there's so many different things that kind of need to be figured out and need to be kind of looked into, that I don't have those answers right now, but at least I can kind of help lay it out. What I did this morning as I accept this collab on Instagram, thank you, social media Kevin Guy, for doing that for me. What I did this morning is I kind of made a compilation of all the different tweets, because reporters were tweeting out so many different things. So let's talk about this from Connor Hughes. So Connor Hughes put this out. He broke the news at around the same time that Ian Rappaport did. I gave both of them credit. Everything I've been told is that this is close and it's going to get done. John Harbaugh will be the next head coach of the Giants, but this is also not normal. Silly to convey it as that. I have messages from coaches and league sources asking what's going on. It's nationally puzzling, so fans have the right to ask questions, especially because the Giants were literally celebrating this Wednesday night and Thursday morning. Okay, so it was Wednesday night. I've covered quite a few coaching changes before that. Can't remember one going this long to finalize. Clearly, at this point, it's more detailed than just reviewing paperwork. I want to see. So this is Dan Duggan tweeted out, I think, this morning. As the Giants' John Harbaugh negotiations continue, here's a nugget that I've learned. Harbaugh didn't report to the GM in Baltimore. He reported directly to owner Steve Biscotti. That has been the Giants' chain of command historically. Getting a sense for why this hasn't been a simple process. Jordan Raanan tweeted recently. First off, Jordan Raanan deal will get finalized soon, but as they sort through organizational and operational issues, something to keep in mind. Change is difficult, but spoke to former players and coaches who are with the Ravens and Giants. To a man, they suggested the Ravens operation was running at a different level. Everything from analytics, training, video, medical, personnel. Baltimore is known to spare no expense. Huge staffs, top-notch facilities, one of the best-run organizations top to bottom in the NFL. Several that know Harbaugh well suggested he would want major changes to the way the Giants organization operates. That appears to be taking shape right from the jump. So why I never freaked out at how long this took, even though again, it was, people had the right to be suspicious. There are so many different things when it comes to running an NFL building that I don't think any of us can actually conceptualize and comprehend unless you've actually been inside the. And I'm saying this as, I talk about this team and, a lot, but I still say that I can't even imagine everything that goes into it. And I honestly think that's one of the reasons why John Mara was so hesitant to fire Joe Schoen to begin with, because he knows that every single department and every single facet of that building and how the general manager runs the building would also need to change, right? But Harbaugh is basically on that level playing field now with Joe Schoen, this type of hire. They're basically on that same level of playing field. So then Harbaugh is going to want his influence in that building. So I like that I like that these conversations happened. I think you have to like that. This is what we've wanted as fans for these root issues, for these core issues that isn't simply just hiring and firing somebody. There's more issues that need to be fixed in this building outside of just who's running it and who's not running it. Let's see. Is there any other tweet that I want to read? Any other tweet? That's basically it. Because, even everybody has always said, Ian O'Connor has just consistently said it's at the 1 yard line. It's going to get done. Gary Myers said it's going to get done. Gary Myers said it's going to get done. He's the one that indicated that Tuesday is going to be when the Giants introduce him as general manager, because again, Monday is MLK Day. So that's what I'm thinking about is what now has John Harbaugh said? What has John Harbaugh done to really change and influence things? So there you go. Hey, that's great, man. That's great. Congratulations. All right. Now what's next? So I started looking into Todd Monken's offense. I think now the next logical step is what staff is he going to hire? Todd Monken, Denard Wilson as defensive coordinator is a name that they've worked together before. He was a secondary coach there, former Eagles DB coach as well, the defense coordinator for the Titans the last 2 years. Mike Caldwell, he's the former defense coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there's a connection to Harbaugh there that we talked about on the show. But I want to talk about mainly Todd Monken, because I think Todd Monken is now likely. Nothing has really changed on that front, reporting-wise, that I think that he should be the next offense coordinator. I think they still need to do the Rooney Rule obligation for both OC and DC. But the morning that after Harbaugh was hired, it broke that Todd Monken likely to join him. So I started to do some digging and some thoughts on Todd Monken's offense, and I really like that for Jackson Dart, if that is going to be the hire. Couple high-level things is I think it's really good for Dart when it comes to keeping him healthy. Lamar Jackson's scramble rate went up dramatically from the early Greg Roman years, and I think when a quarterback drops back to scramble, it is much easier and it is much better to protect a quarterback. There's much more space. Now, Lamar Jackson is a very good quarterback when it comes to his spatial awareness and how to protect himself. So hopefully that could be something that Harbaugh is just going to have to drill into Jackson Dart. There is no, this is just who he is as a person. Nah, man, you got to be healthy, and nah, man, you got to be out there. So from the Greg Roman years to the Todd Monken years, there was a 15% jump in scramble rate. 15% more of Lamar Jackson's rushing attempts were scrambles as opposed to just design runs. So I think that's awesome. I think that's good. Jackson Dart did have a pretty high scramble rate this year out of all of his rushing attempts, but I kind of do feel like you find yourself in trouble with quarterbacks when you do the design run stuff. And then also when they get hit from within the pocket too. But Jackson Dart's been pretty good inside the pocket too. He's been very, very aware of space and not taking bad sacks inside the pocket. Thought that was one of his best parts of his rookie year. The other thing about Todd Monken's system, as opposed to kind of what it did for Lamar going from Greg Roman to Todd Monken, what the Ravens did at a very similar time is they started to invest more at wide receiver. Like that's what they started to do. So investing more at wide receiver, and the wide receivers weren't even that good, but like even like Zay Flowers' rookie year, Odell Beckham Jr., it was kind of like a pretty drastic improvement over what they had towards their early years in Baltimore. And what they were able to do with Monken is simply just spread the field more. A lot of more condensed formations, a lot more 12 personnel. They did run more 11 personnel with Todd Monken, but even like you look at this year, it's like, oh, well, the Ravens ran 11 personnel at a league at like the lowest rate in the league. Patrick Ricard and his presence changes things. And here's how it changes things. Because Patrick Ricard will go down when you're tracking personnel, right? When you're tracking personnel, this is how often they went out of 11. This is how often they went out of 12. This is how often they ran out of 20 personnel, let's just say. Patrick Ricard is counted as a fullback. So even when there's no tight ends on the field, so let's take 20 personnel, for example. That's 2 running backs, 0 tight ends, three wide receivers. But when Patrick Ricard is lined up as an inline tight end, he's technically a tight end. So technically you're running out of 11 personnel. So you kind of have to sometimes count when the Ravens would run out of 20 personnel, count that as 11. When they would run, what would this be? 22 personnel. That even may be 13 personnel because you have a running back there. You have Patrick Ricard lined up next to 2 tight ends. That technically is 13 personnel. I think it just gives Patrick Ricard, who I think is a must sign this offseason. Patrick Ricard, I think, one of the more underrated weapons and one of the most important weapons in the NFL that would never touch the football. Never touch the football. Because you can line him up at fullback, you can line him up at tight end, and you can change what your personnel is and then what you can do on the field simply just by where he lines up. And a couple years ago, I was looking back at data of teams that use like 4, 5, 6 different personnel grouping frequencies in the same game. The likelihood of you winning that game goes up as opposed to if you just use 2, 3, or 4. The more different personnel looks that you can get out on the field, very correlated of your chances and likelihood of winning a football game. So that's what Patrick Ricard can do. And I think he had a salary of like $2.8 million this year, like a 1-year deal, $2.8 million. And he's 31 years old, probably going to be 32, by the time that next season's going to be coming around. I think he is a must sign. Really, really kick-ass player. And I think that could really help. And knowing how much success that Jackson Dart had this year out of throwing out of 12 personnel, throwing with multiple tight ends on the field. Now, I think the Giants were doing that because Malik Neighbors goes down. Darius Slayton is dropping the ball. They don't have a lot of consistent wide receivers, but he still found a lot of success out of throwing out of those bigger formations. I think that same type of thing can continue here. Can continue with Todd Monken. You can get tight ends going down the field. You can get these 2-man routes and get a lot of explosive plays out of that. I am really, really excited about the potential that Todd Monken can bring while doing some of the similar things that they did under Greg Roman with those condensed formations, bigger formations, still emphasizing spreading the field, more 11 personnel than Greg Roman, and the wider formations can naturally just give you more space and give a running quarterback more space to scramble, get some explosive plays that way. And when you widen the field and spread the field out a little bit more, you're also allowing your quarterback to not take as many hits because guys aren't as close to him. If guys are running down the field, if you're spreading out your wide receivers a little bit, there's more space to operate. So that's an early thought on Todd Monken. I did a good amount of work on him because it came out literally that morning after that Harbaugh was hired, that was the guy that was kind of in line. But I think they still have to satisfy some Rooney Rule stuff and go through that process. So that's my reaction. That's my reaction. Basically, I'll get to some chats. Joseph, ignore the haters, man. Keep your head up. We're all one big Giants family here. We now have the best coach in FCs. Yeah, man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. And I don't know, it's been like 8 months since everything happened. Kind of get over it. What other questions people got? Did we actually get Monken? Not yet. Not yet. I've been live for 20 minutes, and I haven't checked Twitter in 20 minutes. Everything is changing time and time again. Oh, this is good. Somebody brought up Neighbors. This is a really good. I want to talk about this. If Neighbors comes back healthy, it'd be one of the best wide receivers Harbaugh has ever had. I'm going one step further. I had this thought even like before he was hired. Malik Neighbors is already the best wide receiver that John Harbaugh has ever coached. I tweeted that out, and I got Ravens fans in my replies, and like, this is meant for us. This isn't meant for the rest of the NFL or Ravens fans. Like, this live stream is meant for Giants fans. Let's be fucking real for a second. Malik Neighbors is not as good. There is no way that Anquan Boldin, post 30 years old, who's a good wide receiver, very good wide receiver, right? Borderline Hall of Famer, Anquan Boldin. But Anquan Boldin with the Ravens? No. Malik Neighbors clears. Steve Smith Sr. with the Baltimore Ravens? Post-prime Steve Smith Sr. with the Carolina Panthers? No. Torrey Smith? Like, what are the receivers that were Derek Mason? What are we talking about? Malik Neighbors is the best. He already is the best. I don't care about injury. He'll come back. Guys come back all the time. Malik Neighbors is already the best. Well, I couldn't believe the coping and the replies that I was getting. Maybe a 30-year-old Anquan Boldin. That is the only one that I will give you like, okay. But talent-wise, Malik Neighbors is a top 10, top 5 talent. I don't know, man. Like, I felt like I was taking crazy pills reading some of the replies. I thought that was like there's no debate that Malik Neighbors is the best wide receiver that John Harbaugh's ever had. Couldn't believe that. And Zay Flowers, I'm not saying Mark Andrews is a tight end. Talking about wide receiver, Malik Neighbors is better than Zay Flowers. I'm sorry. He's better than Zay Flowers. Chris, what's going on, man? Which Raven free agent do you think comes to the Giants? I mean, Patrick Ricard's number one. Isaiah Likely is certainly another one. I'm really pissed that Travis Jones got signed. But I have to look into the UDFAs that they kind of have because I think some of those guys would certainly come over. I really wanted Travis Jones to be available. I really, really wanted that. Tyler Linderbaum is like the number one option. Like, I am totally cool paying him $20 million a year, and he's just the best center. Who would you rather have? Tyler Linderbaum at $20 million a year or Wan'Dale Robinson at $15, $16, $17 million a year? Really ask yourself that question. You'd rather have the best center in the game at $20 million a year. And like, let's stop like messing around. If you're going to go out and you're going to pay money for somebody, if you're going to go out or even spend like top resources on, whether that be the draft, whether that be free agency, get the best. Tyler Linderbaum is the best. I'm not thinking about that twice, man. I'm not thinking about that twice. I'd rather have Tyler Linderbaum at $20 million than Wan'Dale at $15, $16, $17 million, whatever he's going to ask for. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Let's see. I'm glazing Neighbors too much. Okay. Raheem Morris for defense coordinator. I don't know. I don't know if they've ever worked. Have they ever worked together? I don't think so. I think Harbaugh is going to lean on people that he's worked with before. I'll tell you what I like about Raheem Morris and what he did this year. He really, they've never worked together. He really turned around his defense from 2 years ago where I thought they were awful. And he upped his aggression this year with the Falcons, and that Falcons defense was like one of the main reasons why they were kind of like in football games at times. So I wouldn't be totally against it, but I do think that Harbaugh is going to lean with. There's enough people out there that he has had past connections with that I think that's what it's going to be, instead of like the arranged marriage of, hey, I'm the hot candidate, you're the hot candidate, let's see if this works. I think Harbaugh has enough connections through the last 18 years that he's going to find somebody that he kind of already knows what they're about, you know? I should read Ian O'Connor. This is what I'm being told. I should read Ian O'Connor. So I'm going to read Ian O'Connor. That's what I'm going to do right now. John Harbaugh and Jackson Dart to the roster. I'm very excited about these players. I spoke with Jackson 2 or 3 times at length, and I couldn't be more impressed with him. Watched him on tape. He had a heck of a rookie season, and he's got the mindset that is one tough dude. That is great. I'm going to put that in our company Slack because I want that to be published and tweeted and made into a graphic. What else? John Harbaugh and what it means to be a head coach in the New York Football Giants. Ian O'Connor didn't tweet Football Giants. I added that because I'd like to add that. It makes me so proud. It also makes me feel a great deal of excitement and responsibility because this is, this is the New York Football Giants. And that's the absolute truth. Whoa. When people go out of their way to say New York Football Giants, that's how you know you're a real one. John Harbaugh on sticking points in negotiations at the end. It was about building the football operation structure. The conversations with John and Chris Mara and Joe about that were great. We're not going to be much bigger operationally, but it takes time to put that together in negotiations. It finally came together, and I like the start of where we are going, but we still have to build it out. We're on the same page with it. We're not going to be much bigger operationally. I wonder what that means. What does that mean? What does it mean that we're not going to be that much bigger operationally? This is from Ian O'Connor, by the way. John Harbaugh on operational changes he will install with the Giants. That's been a little overblown. We are going to bolster up the analytics a bit. So much for all that fucking technology that Joe Shane brought into the building. The Giants actually have a bigger sports science staff than we had. We didn't really have a sports science department in Baltimore. Nice. So he likes the sports science department. Hey, John Harbaugh, when did you really know this deal with the Giants was definitely done? About a half hour ago, and that was 13 minutes ago. So now we're about 43 minutes. And then this was the first tweet. Nope, there's still a couple more. John Harbaugh to me, Ian O'Connor. I am Ian O'Connor. I think the Giants roster is strong, and it's our job to make it stronger. We are going to compete for the playoffs and championships. I expect and want to make the playoffs next year. Next one, John Harbaugh to me in his position in chain of command with the Giants. I report to John Mara. Says he has really enjoyed Joe Shane. Looks forward to forming a great partnership with Joe. I report to John Mara. Okay. That's different. I really do think that's different from what the typical chain of command has been. Like, I think historically, it has always been coach, GM, owner. That's the chain of command. And I think this is going to be different. And what does that mean? Again, like, now I get a little bit worried as we have had an owner that has meddled in football decisions, right? And we don't like that. Like, we want John Mara just being an owner and trying to hold people accountable, and we want the GM and the coach to do the football decisions. So now that Harbaugh reports to the owner, I'm really interested to know what that dynamic. I'm more interested to know what the dynamic is with Joe Shane. Like, what is his role? What is his power? What is this saying? You're gonna have two people going behind each other's backs talking to John Mara? I don't know. I think it'll work out. It worked out for the Ravens for 18 years. John Harbaugh to me, to New York Giants fans. It's the New York Football Giants. I can't wait to get started. I know how great our fans are. I've seen them close up enough. We are going to build a team that's going to play a brand of football that you will be proud of. Joe Judge. Asked a member of negotiations a minute ago if the deal was done. From the Giants side, yes, was the answer. John Harbaugh is the most accomplished coach this franchise has ever had. A great day. And then 49, and then that is the last tweet from Ian O'Connor about quotes that have come from inside the building. Unless I missed another one. 9 seconds ago. John Harbaugh, I definitely want to make the playoffs next year. We can do that. Okay. Perfect. Oh, hey, John Harbaugh, which of the famous ex-Giants made an impact on you in talks? Tom Coughlin. He was a big part of this process for me. I spent a lot of time on the phone with Tom. I've admired him as a coach and friend, and he has really encouraged me to go forward with the Giants. Nice. Oh, John Harbaugh and Joe Shane. I'm sorry. This is me just reading Twitter. I'm really sorry. John Harbaugh and Joe Shane. I really like Joe. We had great football talks and great life talks. Okay. He's a hard worker, and I'm ready to have us for us to roll up our sleeves. Can you have Ozzie Newsome and Eric DeCosta partnership with Joe? That's the plan, Harbaugh said. That's the plan. Certainly that's the plan. Let's see. Jacob, do you think there's any truth likely supposedly throwing a party? Do you think there's any truth likely supposedly throwing a party about Harbaugh being fired? I don't know. Like Isaiah likely is throwing a party? Oh, okay. I don't know if there's truth to that, but he also could just be having a party for the season being over. I don't know. Yeah, Ken McCusick talked to Ravens film study about Linderbaum. We don't want him. He doesn't like Tyler Linderbaum. Okay, I trust Ken McCusick. I think he's a good dude. So I'll have to. I guess we'll look more into that. You think that he's just the best center in the league because that's what he's been. All right, we have anything else, man? Any other questions? Gosh, man, we're talking about Odell. God, you mentioned Odell's name once. I heard Likely was happy to see Harbaugh go, and Linderbaum was like JMS, Big Blue Banter. Yeah, it's a film guy on the show. All right, I got to check that out because I really like Ken McCusick. We had him on the show a couple years ago when we would do interviews before games. So I think before 2022. So. Giants go 8-9 and cut Gano. I'll tell you what, I would love 8-9. I would love to win 8 football games. I don't care about ceiling right now. I care about floor. I don't want, as a fan of this team, I do not want to sit through November and December and hate that I'm watching this team. Because that's what it's been. You go 8-9, you're in the hunt in 2026. You're playing in, I think, a tough NFC East. You can say that it's wide open. It's tough with 4 good quarterbacks. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl and has been to another. Jaden Daniels has appeared in an NFC championship game, and Jackson Dart's damn good too. So you got 4 good quarterbacks and 4 good situations, right? Even if they're not perfect. You go 8-9 and cut Gano. Gano coming, the Gano slander coming from the top rope. Yeah, you're going to cut Graham Gano. Giants go 8-9. I would love that. We'll talk about ceiling 3-4 years from now. If we have a couple years of 8, 9, 10 wins and we can't get out of the divisional round, you can't get out of the wild card round, I'll deal with that 3 or 4 years from now, man. I'll deal with that. They have so far a ways to go. Giants can't win a Super Bowl with John Harbaugh. I don't give a fuck. Like, get us out of the sewer. Get us out of the gutter. Bring Wink back. No, Rich. People call you Dick Wolf. Isn't that the guy that makes Law and Order? No, I don't think they're going to bring Wink back. That relationship, I don't think they ended on amicable terms. Harbaugh and the Ravens and Harbaugh, Wink, and the Ravens. I don't think they ended on amicable terms. Wink also seems to have the tendency to spend a couple years somewhere and then start to act like a dick and then leave. So I like Wink Martindale as a defense coordinator. I think especially now in the NFL, you see the most successful defense coordinators, Vance Joseph, an aggressive mindset, Brian Flores, an aggressive mindset. Like the coaches that typically do have that high blitz rate, they are working in the NFL now as everybody is getting smaller. But they just don't have a good working relationship. Don't be sorry. Not all of us have Twitter. Oh, that's great. Twitter's not real life, Jeffrey. And thank you for reminding me of that. I have to tell myself like every single day that Twitter isn't real life at times. Joe, thanks for going live, man. I search for live streams as soon as the news dropped. Yeah, you're welcome. Please, I would love if people subscribed. I should have turned on subscriber-only mode for people in the chat, but I would love if you subscribe. Sean Morash and I, we're going to maybe we'll even go live after the presser on Monday. I don't know, but we're going to have an episode Monday, and then, like I said, the back end of the week, I do want to get a reporter on to talk about this process. See you all in the playoffs next year. I love it, man. Oh, the 49ers. Oh my God. What do we have? I saw Ravens fans. We got 49ers in here. A couple minutes ago, I just said that this is just for Giants fans. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Jim Leonard as defense coordinator. Yeah, I mean, that's the hot name, right? And Jim Leonard, even though I don't think Jim Leonard as a coach has any ties to Harbaugh, it was when he was a player, right? Because then he He was a player. He played under Harbaugh, and then he goes to Rex Ryan and the Jets for a little bit. So that's the connection there. And I mean, this seems to be the candidate that everybody's after because he's under the Broncos right now. The Cowboys are really interviewing him. That seems to be the hot shot name. And Pretty Ricky and some other people were already, tweeting out Wisconsin Badger gifts and things like that. He was a former coach of Wisconsin. So that would be cool. Like, if you want to talk about hey, if you really want Wink Martindale back, and if you like that kind of system, then Jim Leonhard, I think, should be your guy that you're kind of rooting for. And it's not that. It's so funny how I think how the Giants think that Harbaugh is a second coming of Jesus for their pathetic team. It's not that Harbaugh is going to save this organization and win us a Super Bowl. It is very, very hard to win a Super Bowl. What Harbaugh is going to do, and if I am wrong, punch me in the face. What Harbaugh is hopefully going to do for this team is take us out of the gutter. The gutter. Take us out of being an embarrassment. Take us out of not wanting to watch this team outside of the months of September and October. Put fans back in the stands in November and December. Because even if they're 8-9, even if they move to 18 games, even if they're 8-10, even if they're 9-8, fans are going to go in November and December when the Giants are quote unquote in the hunt. And that's what this hire means. That's what it means, man. Pass blocking. So then we're talking about Linderbaum. His pass blocking is not at the park. Got to look into it. I don't watch every single snap and every single game of the Baltimore Ravens. Watched enough to see that he got praise. Watched enough to see that he was good. And I guess you got to watch more to figure out what if these guys are good or not. So. Talked about Todd Monken towards the middle part of this stream. If you want to go check it out, talked about his offense and spacing and personnel grouping frequencies and how important Patrick Ricard is and all that. I think Todd Monken can really help Jackson Dart and kind of do some of the similar things that Jackson Dart found success with this year. Because I think Dable really changed, and Kafka. Dable and Kafka really helped change the offense and make it around Dart in terms of what he did well at Ole Miss. And I think Monken can continue a lot of those similar things. So, John don't like Wink. Yeah. Monken as OC and Weaver defense coordinator. Weaver. Let's see. Sean texted me some names, and I want to get it down. Denard Wilson is obviously a very good option. I mean, that was somebody that Joe Shane, Brian Dable, that they were really looking into 2 off seasons ago when they hired Shane Bowen. Anthony Weaver, Mike Caldwell, Denard Wilson, and Jim Leonhard. I think one of those 4 guys will be the defense coordinator. And in terms of offense coordinator, kind of just feels like Todd Monken, right? Kind of just feels like Todd Monken. I'm going through the chat here, going through the chat. Where's Marshall Chat Sports? Marshall's a good dude. I love Marshall. We're going to have him on the show again soon. Let's see. Harbaugh. Broncos Bills about to kick off. Yeah, you know what? I will get going because I do want to watch playoff football. I do want to do this. I'm very excited. I am very, very, very excited. And I want to thank you all for hanging out. Quick little 38-minute stream. John Harbaugh is officially the Giants head coach. Please subscribe. We're going to have a podcast out. Probably, I think I want to live stream it. Because John Harbaugh, oh no, he's not going to have his fucking presser on Monday, Justin. You said it's MLK Day. He's going to have it Tuesday. Sean and I are going to record an episode on Monday. We will put it out on Tuesday. Then we are going to have a beat report. We're going to have a reporter on in the middle of the week. And that episode will come out either Thursday or Friday. And that is what you have to look forward to. And we'll talk about defense coordinator candidates, head coach candidates. And I really want to get Sean's input on like what they were talking about that made this take so long, but it's very, very important. And what is this structure? What is this new structure that they were talking about? So appreciate everybody hanging out. Did I miss a super chat? I think I got everything. Peace to Mateo. I think I got everything. All right. Let's go Giants. Let's go football. Have a good day of football. Very, very excited. Thanks for hanging out.